Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Thames. My name is Talos here. And of course, this is our very first duo at our podcast, of course. Today, I have a special guest in here with me, of course. And his name, of course, is James Alexander Laverty. James Alexander Laverty, would you like to introduce yourself more about what we're about to talk about?
Well, thank you, Alicia, for having me on your podcast. I'm very privileged to help you on your journey of starting to do media and interviewing. Um, for me, this will probably be the first time in 7 years that I've ever answered any questions, I
Sure.
guess, around our topic for tonight. So,
So, James, would you like to tell the viewers who you are first and where you come from?
yeah, look, Alicia, I have been in New Zealand for 25 years. I came from Ireland when I was 21. So I was a little boy that entered into Wellington with no more than a suitcase. And I was very lucky because before that, I'd really never found out who I was as a person until I'd come to Wellington. And there was some amazing people there that influenced my life around um, community, doing better, politics, and I seem to um, adapt myself really well to those particular groups in Wellington at that time.
Yeah.
And so I think as a kid that really was trying to find his way, I did run away to a certain extent from home. And that was because I struggled.
What were you struggling with?
Mentally trying to figure out, was I the homo or was I the queer that I had been branded all my life. And I was at that stage of 21 where I wanted to commit suicide. And it was just out of the pure chance that New Zealand come up, and it was as far away as you could get. So if I was going to mess up, this is where I wanted to mess up because it was so far away. But look, there was a lot of elders in the community back 25 years ago that really did look out for that younger generation that came through. And I guess that was the community that I was accepted into. And I embraced it, and they embraced me. And there's some iconic people which are no longer with us, Dana DeMalo, and there was Jackie Grant, there was Mel and Scotty, Des and John, Tim Barnett, Ramon. There was a great sense of, we were politically charged. We were.
So were the first people that actually that got to involve to our community, the LGBTQ?
Yeah, it was actually, to be honest. It was just having really good figures in our community that we were able to go to and learn from. And I guess I was that kid that was really lucky to have had that privilege and to be attached with that generation while I was in Wellington. And so I guess that gave me the foundation to kind of find myself and find myself within that within the community.
Sure.
So yeah, look, and like I say, a lot of those people are no longer with us, but there's also a lot of them that I still get inspired by, and I think that was a really beautiful way for me to find my feet, and Wellington was it, and it's still very much home.
So Wellington was your home, really? Was that your first home when you first moved to New Zealand?
That was, yep.
When you moved to another places beforehand?
No, that was 10 years in Wellington. So
sure.
Wellington really was home. Like I say, I was very, I certainly worked hard, and I, look, Wellington had a buzz, it had the Helen Clark era.
Yes.
We had the Civil Union Bill.
Yes.
We were just in a really good place, like Fran Wild. There was just a lot of those characters and a lot of those people that really laid the foundation for us. And I loved that. I loved that about, I had so much respect for my elders because the road that they took before us, and they never left you behind, I guess, to a certain extent. You know, you were always taken with them on that journey, whether it was creating posters, door knocking, and whatever it was. Even if there was an event in Parliament, you know, they made sure that you were part of that journey. And look, and I think I was very lucky and very privileged. You know, I was part of the Lord of the Rings. You know, I was did the New Zealand AIDS Foundation cake that year. That Gandalf and me launched the New Zealand AIDS Foundation for Christmas at Premier House.
How long ago was that again for that particular year?
Oh God, tell us, yeah, I would say it's back nearly 15 or 16 years, 17 years.
Oh, yeah.
It was a really buzzing time in Wellington. So you got to connect really quickly and well like that. And you got to move in stories that, or with people that wanted to take you up the ladder with them. And so,
did they?
Yeah, look, Helen Clark was certainly the person that put me on the map for the chocolate cake company.
How exactly?
You know, I was the little boy that would give out free cakes, and
they love free food, do they?
Yeah, and of course I would do lots of fundraising with inside the community, and giving away cakes was that key in. But I did happen to meet Helen Clark at an event at Premier House, and I brought her a little cupcake, and she said, she sent me back a little card the next day to say, not enough for Corgus, but thank you very much. And that was the start of a beautiful friendship. So
what was she like?
I don't think that we've had a leader like Helen Clark since, and I think she really did make change for us, as in the community.
Do you think she was the best leader for us that we ever had?
Yeah, we got a lot more done under Labour, and so we certainly achieved our goals a lot quicker. And Helen Clark was an ally, and allies are really important.
I agree with you. Allies are super important for people like me and you and everyone else that's watching. But what exactly did Helen Clark and the Labour did for the LGBTQ plus community?
Yeah, so look, they strengthened our networks within government,
right,
within council. They aligned and partnered with us at community events, fundraisers, and then we obviously had the civil union bill that came through, and that came through from the Labour Party. So Helen Clark really did work hard, and look, she was as genuine as it could be. She remembered you. She had never would have ignored you or anything like that, no matter who she was with or where she was with. And so I looked up to her and was very proud of her when she went to the UN. So Helen Clark has done a lot of good inside the wider community as well, not just within the rainbow community.
Within our leaders in New Zealand, was she the first one to go to the UN?
Helen Clark was, yeah, that's right.
There you are, everybody. She is definitely a Labour leader. And of course, she was the greatest one that we ever had as an ally, like James said. So fast forward from Wellington, you moved to Auckland.
That's right. So, 15 years in Auckland. I actually, when I finished up with the first part of the chocolate cake company in Wellington, it was very big, it was very successful, but also we had lost the election that year for the Labour Party, so there was a change of times. And for me, I was very successful, was connected with a lot of people, but as change in politics and government, everybody kind of branched out and moved on. I went to work in Kenya and Tanzania for 2.5 months.
Yeah. How was that?
Yeah, look, that was certainly a trip of my life, and it was a really beautiful way to give back. I went and worked at an orphanage for kids that had been abandoned at birth due to HIV, and then I went to work digging water wells for school for girls in the Tanzania tribe, and that was for girls that had run away from home due to not wanting to be circumcised. And so that was really rewarding. Came back and straight back into Auckland again is where I wanted to start life over again. And yeah, of course I took a bit of the chocolate cake on for another 3 years, but in
Mm.
the meantime, I went back to school to learn retail management. And yeah,
And of
so
course, you ended up working for Wayne Clark.
yeah, that's right. For 10 years, Family Bar. Family Bar was very small when I first came along on the scene. It was,
Was it?
yeah, it was. It wasn't as big as what it was, and it was wow, something I'd never seen in my life before, to that size or that scale and connection. And so for Wellington, I was very focused on politics, and I was very focused on government. And this was the first time in my life that I actually got to work with inside a gay bar, and a different level. I got to let my hair down for a while and
So
live a bit.
other than the gay bars, whatever that family bar, what else did you do for in Auckland and the community?
Yeah, look, over the years that I've had businesses, I've fundraised for the New Zealand AIDS Foundation.
Sure.
I also did it for Body Positive. Actually, a lot of people don't know that when it came to World AIDS Days, for the years that I did have the chocolate cake company, I supplied all the cakes for World AIDS Day at no cost. I would ensure that they had stuff for prize given throughout the year or fundraisers. So I'd worked really dramatically, really quite well to. That's what you do when you're in a position in your community. You take that and you give it on. It comes back to you, and that is the circle of life. So, but you know, Talicia, with not only within the rainbow community, I did do a lot of fundraising for other organizations like the Cancer Society, and I certainly worked for a while with the Butterfly Foundation as well.
Can you explain more about that Butterfly Foundation? Because I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, look, that's a rare skin disorder, and it's a really beautiful organization. I think Helen Clark was the patron of that one, if I remember correctly. But it certainly helped families that didn't get any huge funding. So anything that we could do to raise money, which would supply bandages and so on and so forth, it was certainly used for that. But you know, look, I was very lucky that I got to have a full-time job and then come and work at the weekends at Family Bar. And actually, I started off as a glassy, clearing the glasses on the stage before the shows.
On top of being designing cakes.
Yeah, so it was just, and I was, yes, and worked my way up to the jury manager. But, you know, that was 10 years of my life doing that. Between that and bars on Punson Bay and, you know, all of the ventures that Wayne had done over those years of opening and bars, I think that I was very lucky to be part of that. And we really did have a very strong community. We had a lot of venues to go to as well.
Yes,
I
agree.
Back then.
Yes. What do you find? What was the best thing being in our community?
Look, you know what? It's like anything that you ever become part of, or you find it as your friends or your family, whatever it is. We're all going to have differences. And I guess that...
How do you mean differences?
Look, we have different views, different opinions.
Right.
And like I say, the community was phenomenally good to me in my younger day. I was very lucky. I was very well connected, and vice versa. And people helped me, I helped them. And we got a lot of stuff done. We fundraised, and we did a lot. So we were really well in our community. And I think that our community has a lot of beautiful elements to it. And yeah.
Fast forward, I want to talk about the your role that you had before we moved to New Zealand, to Australia. Sorry, you had a big role. It's such an impact role for you. You created some. Would you like to talk more about it? You created the Rainbow Pride.
Yeah. Look.
Why did you do that? And was there any great thing that comes out of it?
Yeah. Look, Tulsi, at that particular time in the community, for as long as I had, 10 years of experience life on the street, understanding the struggles that our community go through. And with that, the first opportunity that I took was after an encounter with the New Zealand Police. And then I became a diversity and inclusion volunteer for the New Zealand Police.
You did.
I did that for 6 years. Now, that was not paid. That was volunteering. And
100% volunteer.
And that was me contributing the best way that I knew possible, was to make change within inside an organization that necessarily didn't always be on our side. And, I feel very privileged to have taken that and being part of it. And without Tracy Phillips and Inspector Tracy Phillips, sorry, that would never have happened with that encounter. But that also happened at a family bar. And so there's the beautiful thing about you never sure who you meet or where you meet. And so I feel very proud that I led something that hadn't been done before.
Sure.
And, look, I was used to a lot of people in the community that didn't speak to me through that period.
Why is that?
Well, look, everybody has their views on organizations or...
I agree 100%.
But I have to put that into context. That actually wasn't about me. That was actually probably about the place itself. And look, no one's perfect. And I don't think the place ever said they were perfect.
No one's perfect.
But what I did want to see was change. And if I thought that I could be at that table to make change, then that's what we were going to achieve. Actually, myself and Miss Ribena were the first two to ever receive a Diversity and Inclusion Award for the New Zealand Police. They'd never given anything like that out.
Can you repeat that name again?
Yeah, it was Miss Ribena and myself, Miss Chocolate Box. And we were the first two in New Zealand to ever receive a Diversity and Inclusion Award on behalf of the New Zealand Police. So, look, that role, it left visibility in our community. I felt that we had achieved a good alliance, and having an ally behind us was really important. But look, Tulsi, if you don't come to the table, you'll never make change. So that was a good 6.5 years, 7 years nearly of that.
That's right. But the particular role that you did, you were running and starting a group, of course. You made a huge impact with that. How did you feel about that? And also, was that a successful, not just for you, but for everyone else in that group?
Look, I really interesting. We had Hero Parade, which ran for such a long period, and then all of a sudden, nothing. And so the parade came back.
It wasn't called Hero Parade when it came back. It came something else.
Yeah, it was Auckland Pride.
That is great. 100%.
And it did start off as that. Now, a lot of people forget that it was people like myself, Family Bar, Ribena, Cola, Buckwheat, Tess, Polyfiller. There were so many queens that Trinity Ice, my God, Cindy of Samoa.
Everyone that's involved really before anybody else's time. We had queens, we had transgenders, and we had people that actually in the community that's created a platform for us. And of course, I enjoyed it. I still love it, and we are going to keep moving forward with it. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, and so we had Karen Ritchie, we had Nicole, we had Miss Kay, and everybody wanted that. Everybody wanted the parade back, and so people like us in the community give long hours, really long hours, to make that first few years of Auckland Pride work.
Long hours, 3 hours for community.
But that was everybody. Everybody got behind it. It didn't matter. Not one of us got paid.
Yeah.
And we all...
Are you sure about that?
We all worked really hard to get it to the stage where it was.
Agreed.
But, it became very clear that that there was a division starting within our community. We had an older generation, which were us, which I think were forgotten about to a certain extent, and then also we didn't listen to the young either. So the two groups stopped talking.
So my question is, now that you mentioned the young ones, how important are the young ones' opinion and views moving forward for us?
Yeah, but every opinion is important.
Yeah, but you can't have it all.
That's correct. And so, we had great division with inside.
Massive division.
Yep, and that was due to pride in prisons. It was due to also the police not a small group that hijacked the Auckland Pride, which then became a different entity, and it changed its direction. But that things happen for a reason. But for someone like me that was on the that had worked really hard along with many others, there was no way I was going to let that beautiful side of fun, color, expression. Now, I understand that Pride started as a protest, and I never ever shied away from that. It's not something that I do.
We can't.
But what I do believe is that there was room for us all to march together.
I agree.
And,
I agree.
That's what you call diversity, inclusion, and standing together.
Did you hear all that?
And for me, and this is my personal view, it's not, and I have never spoken about this in 7 odd years.
Go ahead.
For me, I wanted to ensure that we would all walk that road. So if you wanted to hold a protest flag that hit the police, whatever, that is what Pride was meant to be. It was meant to be both. You were meant to have, but you can't get anywhere without allies. You need support for funding from your banks, and from not only just your community groups, but these organizations really can make a lot of change if they're involved.
Yeah, but the younger generation, the other group, the opposite from the group that you created, which is now huge, massive, it's totally against it. It's against the what do you call it? The big cap, I call it the big dogs, but the big businesses, sorry, because they are the people that actually funded us or funded the events and all that.
Yeah.
But they're against it. Any particular reason why they do that or feel that?
Talicia, there's a different way of protesting, and there's a different way of doing things from what we did. And and I don't really have all the answers, but what I will say is that you can have a pride parade, and the Rainbow Pride, which, yes, I was the founder of that. I was the one that started that along with
7 others.
Yeah, Jackie Grant, Georgina Bai. These were people that I had known for 20 odd years that came behind me to help me with that.
Yes.
Only because we didn't want to see the beautiful side of all the hard work of getting corporate and government on board. Now, what I did want to put in place, and it was always the vision right from the beginning, whether we were part of Auckland Pride or whether we were two separate entities, that there was accountability to those organizations that join us.
Right.
So each year that they join, they would pay a good fee, which would go back to our community to help us with different things.
Does it help us?
Absolutely.
Do they help us?
Well, that's the idea of why they pay for to be there.
Okay.
Now, that's one thing. And then you also set up a structure of accountability on the actions that they take with inside the workplace. So that means around policies, toilets, behavior, and that visibility.
Yes.
And that only comes from corporates. And that's where you get to do both. You get to have that whole thing of pride, but you've also got the whole thing of keeping your allies honest and visible, and keeping our community safe in those places. Sorry, I just want to say, but if you look at how 7 or 8 years on, and you can see a change with inside our community, and not only here but around the world, where we are starting to go, LGB is one separate entity, and then we have the other part, and you can see that happening throughout the States. But not only that, if you look at what is happening at this moment in time, we're losing a lot of our
allies.
yes, we are, and we're losing a tremendous amount of them.
Do you think we're too woke?
Look, this is my personal view. It's not a reflection on any of the organisations or anything else I've been part of. But I've had 7 years off, so I can say what I want. I am an individual.
You can definitely say whatever you want this time because you're not in that group anymore. So I want to fast forward this conversation to the conference that we both attend, and Cindy Samoa did. Express Magazine attend. They were sitting next to me, and that was at the what you call it, the Destinies conference meeting.
Yeah. Look, Talasia, did I take too much on at that particular time? My community setting up a new group, still part of the volunteering with the New Zealand Police. Plus, I was running a very large business at the same time. So there was a lot happening. I went there as an individual, and because of my status, in the sense of if I could change one life or one person's opinion that was in that audience that night at Destiny Church, my job was done. And I don't believe that anybody ever really went back to watch or listen to me and Jackie Grant's full speech. That was the most nerve-wracking thing I'd ever spoke out in my life.
You were in front of thousands of people in that conference on stage. You were talking. I'm going to talk for a little bit because the Express Magazine, I don't know his name, Olivia or Ollie, something like that. He was sitting next to me together. The Express Magazine with the photographer, of course. And cutting as it is, very wrong what they did. I don't like what they did. And I feel like I should be coming after you, but I'm not going to do that. And the story they put on the website, online, to create an animosity about James and all these kerfuffles, it's fake as hell. It's a lie, and all they did, the only reason why they did that, because they didn't like James, of course, for starting that group, now very successful in the big group, of course. And only number two is because the magazine wasn't doing well. And so they needed clicks, whatever you call it. And they had to do it by destroying someone else that actually stood for community. Everything James said about allies and about working for a community, the people that worked before us, standing on our shoulders, absolutely brilliant, fantastic. However, when you try to discriminate or destroy one particular person because of your opinion and because you wanting your magazine to do well, I think you're absolutely disgusting and you're absolutely disgrace. And I don't wish anything bad to you, but I do not want to see you when I come to New Zealand. Anyway, let's get back to James.
Look. Very nice to see a big two. Look, that night was never about some of the things that unfolded. That night was phenomenal, like a hug and a sorry. Mate, you remember in New Zealand at that particular time, we were also getting into, there was an election. And so there was other agendas from other people.
Of course, there's so many agendas for every individuals.
Yeah, it wasn't just the Express Magazine or that really.
Well, the other group were completely against your group.
Yeah, so there was lots of different elements happening, and people, look, don't get me wrong. I was part of the Civil Union Bill. I was in Wellington. I was in the front row when Disney Church was there.
You're listening to that?
My shop was covered in posters, stickers, flyers for the Civil Union Bill at that particular time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mine was a campaign shop.
Sure.
For the Labour Party too.
Correct.
So, I really I really, Talicia, went there with the right agenda
Yeah.
for myself.
The thing is that you know what your intention is. It's very nice and clear because you're my partner. And for those that actually know you, then they know your intention. For those that actually don't know you clearly, they're very quick to judge. But that is the worst thing about us human beings, as a community especially. We are so much hypocrisy. But anyway,
You know, Talicia, I don't want to get too negative about it, but what I
it's
will
not
say was
negative. I'm trying
that
to say it. My opinion.
I'll just, and like I say, I've never talked openly about this in 7 odd years.
I understand.
I do feel that the media had a big responsibility on my mental health.
100%.
Not only that, they allowed personal attacks on my appearance.
That's correct.
And on my credibility on a lot of things. Which I didn't feel that was fair or justice, and there was no protection from our media. Also, a magazine that I had either helped or done things over the years for.
You're talking about the Express magazine?
That's correct. And I know in my heart and soul that they let a lot of bad behavior happen online, and there was a lot of bad things said. But not only that, what was really sad about it all was that I think if I look back now and reflection, and would I change a thing? No, I wouldn't. But what I would also say is that I am now very happy that I am an individual and I get to make my voice clear still.
Yes. Yeah.
And regardless of what platforms that was taken off me or I had to resign from because it didn't fit. But I will say one thing, Talicia. I would say that I was able to make my own opinion on everything that I've done. Do I regret going to that event? Absolutely not. Would I have loved to have done other talks about it and the experience of it? Absolutely. But I will say one thing. Diversity and inclusion in our community is something that people do not understand.
I agree.
They do not know what the meaning of those two words are. Now, I don't care whether you pray to a cardboard box or whether you believe in Christmas or God or whatever you believe, or wherever you don't. What I would always say to you is, if we are so open and so diverse as a community, well,
what's the point of running it? What's the point of doing it?
But shouldn't everybody be there? We don't all have to agree with each other.
Nobody does.
But what
nobody agrees together.
And this is probably, this is probably something that's wrong with the world. We should be all allowed to have individual opinions.
Yes.
And those opinions, absolutely. But should we absolutely destroy the life and soul out of someone? And look, there's very few of my friends knew how suicidal I was with my appearance and everything because of the way I was treated or spoken about in the social media, which was run by the Express and other organizations and companies, media companies within inside New Zealand. It wasn't just Express. There was quite a few of them, which were independent journalists within inside our rainbow community. Now, I didn't deserve that. Now, don't get me wrong. You don't want to speak to me. I totally get that. That was perfectly fine.
Well, that's absolutely fine because personally, I don't want to talk to everybody.
But, Talicia, a lot of these people were people I'd grown up around, for 25 odd years of my life.
Yes, I agree.
And it was very sad when a lot of them took such a, my God, they never, I guess I didn't expect it. I didn't expect that for me or Jackie Grant or for anybody else that spoke.
Sure. So how do you feel now?
Look, like I said, it's 7 years on. And my life changed dramatically in those 7 years.
Yes.
I still went away and individually spoke at different conferences. I still was involved in different ways of my life that I also had given to. And so, I had I felt that it was nice slightly to be free.
Yes.
And don't
You
get me
mean free, that you're no longer in the community?
it's not that I'm not in it.
Right.
I am not answerable to anybody.
Sure.
And I can be a very individual, and I can express my opinion and my feelings.
Yeah.
And look, that we all should be allowed to do that without hate. And that's the very thing that we try and teach the allies.
Sure. So we're about to conclude this conversation, of course. James, would you like to say a final word, just basically about a community, just the close words, and then I'm going to say my part.
Yeah, first of all, Talasia, thank you for having me today. Like I said to you, this was the first time in 7 odd years that I've spoken about it, and I probably won't speak about it again.
No.
What's been done is done.
Correct.
And a lot of us have moved on, which is a good thing, and I wish no one any ill feelings or ill. I wish whatever they do and whatever groups are there, that they continue to try and work together and try and really keep together as a community if that's what they wish to do.
Yes.
But this is our time as an opportunity as a community to really either do two things: either connect or divide ourselves completely from each other. But you know what? If you're ever part of something, you're ever part of a group,
listen up.
Don't be scared to be yourself.
Yes.
You don't have to fit into someone else's box.
That's correct.
And if that means that you're not liked, or you're not the favorite person, or you get people that don't talk to you, don't worry about it, because 7 years on in reflection, I'm very glad that I don't have to align with any particular box, and I can speak at any church, and I can speak at any conference I want, and I can also express who I am as a person without being prosecuted in some ways. But look, our rainbow community will never go anywhere. It'll always be there in some form, in some way, and and for now it's getting on with life, and
correct.
Yeah, and
so this is what I'm going to say. My last words, I'm going to be very quicker than James, of course. It's basically have some common sense, respect everybody else, stop throwing daggers at the other group or other people, because at the end of the day, we are all in the same community. Different opinion, different views, different skin tones, of course, but that's not a big deal. And of course, how about just care for everybody and lift ourselves up, lift our community up, and make it a much, much better community than what it was in the past and today. Thank you very much. My name is Talus again. This is James, the first co-host duo for the podcast, and he's going to be the permanent co-host for Thames. Thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely day, and you take care. Good week.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Talus here.